you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz, and I'm here today with...
Kim Shactman.
Kim, how are you doing this week?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, belated birthday.
I know. And I know that I didn't get you a gift, but I figured knowing me and doing this podcast is a gift enough.
Oh, God, I knew you were going to say that.
I've only said it twice this week.
Totally. The best gift ever.
And honestly, I wanted to do that in your public post, but I know someone's going to be like, who is this egotistical prick? What the hell?
Yeah.
All right, so we are here to review the 1960 horror classic, Psycho, starring Anthony Hopkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, and John Gavin, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I gotta ask, what brought this on? Why did you want to watch Psycho?
I've just always wanted to see it because everyone says it's such a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I saw bits and pieces of the, new TV series that was out for it. I think it was called Bates Motel or something.
Bates Motel.
But I have never seen the original film,
Mm-hmm.
or even the remake. There's a remake out there, too. So I was like, oh, everybody says it's really good. I really want to see it. I felt like Alfred Hitchcock was kind of a big name back in the day, and I just wanted to check it out. Have you and I watched any black and white films yet together?
I think we have.
Have we? Okay, I couldn't remember. Because, I don't know, if I've watched a black and white film with you, it's only been, once. Because, it stood out to me. I was like, oh, yeah, I haven't really watched many black and white films, if any.
I know we've watched a foreign language film. That I know we have.
Yeah, but was it in black and white?
No, it was not. No, it was not. No.
So this was in black and white, and I was like, oh wow, I don't think I've really ever watched any films in black and white, and if I have, I don't remember.
It was just that memorable. Yeah, I don't think we have seen or reviewed a black and white film together. I don't think that's happened.
So this is my first one.
One of the first things that me and Zero did that I pretty much put him up to it is we watched Casablanca. And I am glad we did because it was one of those movies where I only seen once, and I was like, "Is it as good as I remember it?" And then the minute I turn it on and the movie plays, like, "Oh yes, it's as good as I remembered it." Okay, so
yeah, I haven't seen that one.
That would be something I think that if you watched and enjoyed this, Casablanca will be something I think you would really like. Let's review the 1960 horror classic Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, there are a number of things to talk about with Psycho, how important it is, why it's Hitchcock's most celebrated film. Just in a historical aspect, you can talk about a lot of why it was so controversial, what are the things it did different. But in terms of qualities of nowadays, it is still a very good movie. It is not my favorite Hitchcock, but I still think it is of a quality that I think a lot of movies wish they could get to. What about you?
So what is your favorite Hitchcock?
Rebecca.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, Rebecca is and it's very atypical to what I usually like. It is a gothic horror film. And it's I think it's from the 40s, but it's a romance on top of it. It is really good. Psycho's not even in my top 3. It'll be Rebecca, Rope, and Notorious would be my top 3.
The only other Hitchcock movie I've seen is The Birds.
See, I've wanted to see it, but I've heard mixed things.
I enjoyed it.
There are some people who love the movie, and there's others who are like, "Oh God!" It's like,
yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was a good film. I must say, I really liked the black and white a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was in black and white, but I felt like it was a sharper image. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what the words I'm looking for is.
So the one of the things that creative people seem to grasp on is that sometimes when you're given all the tools necessary, it's much harder to make something work really well. And Psycho is one of those movies where, and the remake proves it too, that it is very much a film that is perfect for the time and setting it was placed in and when it was made. Because Alfred Hitchcock was limited to what he could do, if he had today's filmmaking techniques, I'm not entirely sure he would have made the same exact film, because somebody who is that creative and that good at making films will recognize that not only there are certain things you can't do, but there's also certain things that in that setting and time period that you've made it in really makes it work very well. This movie, I think, still stands the test of time today, because you have to put yourself in that mindset of this is set in the 50s.
Yeah, like, and it definitely like brought me to that era, like when I was watching the film, but like just the actual picture quality itself, like and again, because I think this is really my first black and white movie, so like watching all the images and the scenes and the takes in black and white, like I just felt like it was like the image to myself was sharper looking than like color, which sounds odd. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
it does to a certain extent. I think when you put something into color, there is more detail, but that means you have to account for a lot of more stuff when something is in color. So is the tone of the color fit well with what reality is? Is the skin tone right? The makeup, things like that. Whereas in black and white, you can hide those things a lot better. Or even at the time when 1960, there was color. So he just chose as an aesthetic choice to do it in black and white. With this movie specifically, this film needed to be in black and white, I think, because when you put it in color, you have to account for so much stuff. But because it's in black and white, you can get down to the essence of what the film is. So the shadows and the black and white picture frame of the film really resonates more with what's going on in this specific story.
It's like a thriller, so it makes it feel that way. For sure. So like, I mean, I haven't seen the remake, but it sounds like they did that one in color.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes.
Oh, no.
So the remake did several things wrong. First off, they didn't change the dialogue.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Secondly...
And when was the remake shot?
1998. It was starred Vince Vaughn in Anthony Perkins' part and Anne Heche in Janet Leigh's part. You know what? Let's get into performances. Performances on this, I think Anthony Perkins is the best performance of this movie. And it's pretty obvious as to why. He is the central character that makes the movie move forward. He plays Norman, I think, perfectly in this movie. Norman, throughout the film, is meant to be diminutive, meek. Look, every character in the film doesn't expect him to be much of anything. I mean, he gets pushed around by his mother.
He's a follower, not a leader type of deal.
Yeah, something along those lines. And he plays that character perfectly. Anthony Perkins did a really good job in this movie, I think. I think it's a really good performance.
I agree. Like, I feel like he perfectly played like the toned down, meek gentleman that he was, like, obviously throughout the majority of the film, and you just like felt bad for him, kind of it just made you feel like, oh, this poor guy, you know, he's by himself, and you know, he's taking care of his mother and all this stuff, and he did a really great job with it. It was very convincing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the other performance I want to highlight is Janet Leigh. I think she did a pretty good job with what she had in the film, and I think she did rather well as well in this movie. But I think the performance of the film is Anthony Perkins. Like,
for sure.
Okay. Writing. This is based off of a book I have never read. I don't know how...
Oh, I didn't know it was a book, too.
Yes. There is a long, sordid story about how this movie got made. The biggest strength about this film is not only the subversion of what happens, but how the characters are portrayed. I had no problem believing any of the characters in this movie at all. Like, everything felt authentic. The way that they portrayed Norman, and the way that everything happened with Marion Crane and what she did, and all, like, those are like the two principal characters, and the sister and the boyfriend who would go on to do what they would do. Everything felt pretty authentic in this.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the writing was done very well because, like you said, like it was very convincing.
And I think if we get into the plot, we would have to get into spoilers about what this film
does. I know.
So
we're like trying to be careful not to ruin it.
Okay, so skip right through to direction then. There is a reason why this film is so celebrated now and why it's considered Hitchcock's best. Is because what he did in this film, in terms of tone, in terms of characterization, the way he shot the film, how he shot certain scenes, were all masterfully done. If you were to watch this thing, because right now, if I were to say to somebody, what's the best horror film of all time, and I say Psycho, they would probably look at me and go, that's not scary at all. And I would agree with them. This is not a scary film. It really is not. Especially with someone like me and you who, especially you, who's really into true crime. But you can see the genesis of what this movie did to propel that type of storytelling to where it is right now.
Sure, like definitely. And I appreciated it for what it was and not like I wasn't seeking out like the horror and blood and guts and you know what I mean? Like I really did appreciate the way he actually shot the film and the characters and so forth than like the actual horror piece. But yes, I can see how it paved the way for other thrillers down the road.
I'm thinking about this now. I especially like how he shot Perkins in this movie because Perkins' character is always shot in an off-kilter way. He's not in the center. He is deliberately to the side.
There's like a part, I forget which scene it is, but there's a part where he's like shooting from like the ground up and you can see like his neck and his like upper half of his body, but it's not like focused right on his face. I forget which scene it was.
Is it the parlor scene that you're talking about?
I want to say maybe, but I just remember, or like he's leaning over like the front desk and he's talking to Sam.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, there's like a part and like it, like I was just like, oh wow, this is shot awkward, but it works. Like it was weird.
The language of film most times is that the way that the film is being shot is shot on the perspective of the main character. But because of what this film does, he shoots it in subtle different ways for each character. And it works fantastically. You know when there's a certain way that the film is shot when Marion's in there. There's a certain way that the film's shot when Norman's there. When Arbogast is there. When Sam and Lila is there.
Right.
There is it's not incredibly different, but subtle enough to know where the perspective is. He particularly did a very good job.
I feel like that would be really hard to do, like to like make it subtle, but also blend so well that you can pick up on it, but it's not harsh. Like I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh wow, this came out really well.
I think you'd really have to pay attention in order to find that subtlety. So
right.
But you know, I'm anal retentive like that.
I definitely picked up on it.
Oh, good.
Like,
good.
Yeah, especially with the way he shot Norman.
Yeah. My God, you're learning. Oh my God.
I know. I feel like such a nerd.
You bitch. Jesus.
Like such a film nerd.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm rubbing off on you. That's what's happening.
Oh God.
Yeah. Next thing you know, your husband's gonna start have second thoughts. Maybe I'll finally get him in my wings. All right, so why don't we get into spoilers for Psycho, the 1960 horror film, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. If you have not seen it, you should come back when you're all ready. We'll get into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm glad that we saved a lot of this for spoilers because a lot of what makes this movie exceptional is in the spoilers. What would you like to talk about? Because there are a lot of things in this movie that we can go over that can be extrapolated on as to how well this is done.
Okay, just to recap, guys, like I'm obsessed with true crime. I have seen like blood, guts, you know, the whole 9 yards. And this movie still kind of like actually like stumped me a little bit. Like,
really?
Yeah, and like, I kind of just thought it was going to be like, oh, yep, the mom's a murderer, like she's psycho, like, that's where the name comes from. I felt like such a dork watching this movie because I'm like, oh, this is going to be like your typical, you know, whatever. And then like, like the mom's a murderer. And then the twist got me and I was surprised because usually like I can figure it out, you know, like I'm usually good about figuring out the plot twist. I thought it was interesting that they got me.
But I can understand if with you specifically, if you really have not been clued into the popular culture zeitgeist thing with Psycho and how everybody seems to know what the plot twist is, and you did not know that, I'm actually kind of jealous because I would have loved to have that.
Yeah. I didn't know. And like the only thing I knew about Psycho was that there was like a shower scene. That's like the only thing I knew where like she gets stabbed. That's all I knew.
Right.
And I was like, okay, yep, that happened, and it happened so early on in the movie, and like I literally paused the movie and I'm like, there's an hour left of this movie. What happens? Like,
Yeah.
because like that's all I knew was the shower scene because that's what everybody talked about.
Right.
So I was just like, wow, like what's gonna happen now? Like where are they going with this? And then like it really surprised me. I was very surprised at the end.
It's even when you already know what's going to happen, it's incredibly effective. The mark of a really good film that has a twist is that when you know the twist and you rewatch it, it still works flawlessly. There are a lot of movies I've seen where the film has a twist ending and it blows my mind. And then I watch it again and go, well, wait a minute, how does that...
It doesn't work.
It just does not work. It just seems like a twist that just made it seem cool to an extent.
Yeah.
But Psycho works incredibly well, whether you know the twist or not in this. And I guess we should just beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Stop beating around the bush. But, okay. So there are actually 2 twists in this movie, and both are done flawlessly. So first things first, the main character of the film starts as Marion Crane, who's played by Janet Leigh. Mm-hmm. She decides, after getting a deposit from her boss, to take the money that she has, steal it, and move somewhere. I think it was to move with her boyfriend.
Well, it almost sounded like she was running away, and then she was going to have him come with her or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something along those lines. And she stopped at the Bates Motel, which is where...
Because it was pouring out, and she couldn't see. Yeah.
Where Norman is. And she decides, okay, maybe I'm going to go back and just see if I can prevent myself from getting anything that happens. Then Norman's mother comes, stabs her multiple times in the shower, kills her.
Yep.
I don't know if this is something that's happened a lot in movies back then, but I can imagine this being shocking, where the character that you've gotten to know for half the movie is dead. That's it. And the movie keeps going.
Well, that's why I was like, wait. There's still an hour left of this movie.
Yeah.
That's the main character. What's going to happen now?
Right. What then happens is a private investigator who is being hired by Marion's boss to get the money gets to the Bates Motel after certain things happen. He then questions Norman and tries to question the mother, and the mother kills him.
Yeah.
And what happens is that Norman buries the bodies, or throws them into the swamp.
He throws him in the swamp, yeah.
Right.
Which I thought was so funny. I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah. So, okay. I won't ask why that's so funny, but okay.
It's just like funny because it's just like a random little teeny tiny swamp behind their house and all the cars are in there.
Yeah. Good point.
Like, that's a lot of cars to put in there.
End of the movie. The sister of Marion and her boyfriend go to the Bates Motel to find out what happens. The sister confronts Norman's mom, turns the body around, and all of a sudden, it's a skeleton. Yeah. And let me tell you something. That skeleton has perfect teeth.
Dude, that skeleton was pretty good. Scary.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, ooh.
It then turns out that someone is behind her sister attempting to kill her. And it's Norman dressed as his mother.
Oh my God, it was so good. I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, that's why they call it Psycho.
Yep. And then
because he's mentally ill.
Right. And those are the 2 twists. That Marion Crane dies in the middle of the movie, and it turns out Norman was the one killing them.
Yes. So cool. I was like, this is great.
It is excellent. It is so
good.
Well done.
I was very, very shocked. And I was like, oh, wow. Because I'm like, why do they call this Psycho? I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Right. And what makes Anthony Perkins' performance really good in this movie is that at no point in the film do I feel like he is creepy. I think he's awkward. I think he's maladjusted. I think he's sad. When you watch this movie, you go, this is just a sad, pathetic guy.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking, what a fucking creep. Oh my God.
No, not at all. Like, he's just like nice to her.
So what I did after I watched this film, okay, is I said, when I watched this on Peacock, so what I did after that, it said, hey, do you want to watch the remake? I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe I do want to watch the remake.
You're like, sure, why not?
So I put it on, and then immediately I'm like, oh, God, that's right. This is why I hate this so much. So then what I started doing was, okay, let me fast forward to a few scenes. And one of the key scenes I fast forwarded to was when Marion goes to the hotel for the first time. And the one principal thing that movie did wrong is that Vince Vaughn is immediately creepy.
Oh, really? So
immediately.
Just a heads up, guys. Wiz watched the remake, but I didn't. So
yeah.
Oh.
I'm saving you from that. Don't watch the remake.
I'm not gonna because I feel like that just like ruins it.
And then on top of that, the Peep show that Norman does in the
he's like looking through the wall at her, which is getting changed.
Okay, so in the '60s version, it seemed a little more innocent and it seemed a little more curious in a certain sense. It was probably
he was like a lonely guy, and he's like, there's somebody here. I just want to like be near them.
Okay, in the remake, Vince Vaughn masturbates. And you hear it.
Oh, come on.
Yep.
No. I will not be watching that ever.
You don't see it, and you don't see him finish.
I'm not grossed out by it. I just feel like it ruins the mood. Like
exactly. But you hear the zip and like, come on, really?
Like if they did that in the original, it would be awful.
If they did that in the original, it wouldn't have been made, period. Back to the performances. This is why Anthony Perkins' performance is not only central to this movie, but it is really good because it's so meek.
Because you don't expect it.
Bingo. Absolutely.
That's the thing. Like I was just, and then when they're when they go to the sheriff, so remember they go to the sheriff's house before the boyfriend and the sister go to the Bates Motel. They go to a sheriff's house and they go over it with the sheriff, what's happening. And the sheriff's like, Mrs. Bates has been dead for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, she's not. And he's like, I saw her be buried, like all this stuff and whatever. And like, I was just like, oh my God, like what is going on?
Yeah.
It got me. And nothing usually gets past me with like thrillers and stuff like that. Like I usually figure out like who the killer is or what's going to happen like way before it even does. But with this, like you said, he was just like super meek guy. I felt bad for him. He was literally a psycho.
There is one thing I do not like about this movie.
Okay.
The end. More like the epilogue. So the end is where you find out that Norman is the killer. I really do not like the psychoanalyst thing at the end, the exposition dump.
Oh, the psychologist.
Yeah. I think it's such a pointless scene. Now, I think some might say, well,
I do and I don't because I think for that time it needed to be explained.
That seems to be the thing where people are like, probably for the time. I mean,
I thought it was really funny when the old cop guy's like, he's a transvestite. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that was uncalled for, but okay.
But the psychoanalyst pretty much says, no, not necessarily.
Yeah, he's like, no, like, oh, that was funny. I was like, oh, well, there's a little bit of humor in here.
But my issue with that scene, not only is I think the explanation was unnecessary. I think the other thing that I don't like about it is that you get from this really good, surprising high, and you would want people to end the movie with that and go maybe 30 seconds left, cops find the body, and then bodies, and boom, it's over. Instead, you drag everything down to like, oh yeah, so this is what happened. This is how it is. Okay.
I don't know. It didn't really bother me.
I think what would have been a better ending, and yes, I know, me saying I have a better ending than what Alfred Hitchcock did. Yeah, I know.
Who do you think you are? Oh my God.
Shut up, okay? This is my podcast.
You do you, Wiz.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to do. All right? Just because you're the birthday girl doesn't mean you get to stomp all over me.
I liked the end. It was great.
Well, that is your opinion as much as it is wrong. Anyway.
Okay, what would you have done?
Okay. I think, honestly, and maybe the reason why they couldn't do it is because Perkins couldn't actually pull it off. Why not have him talk as the mother? Why not have that? Or be like, when he coming with the stabbing Lila and Sam is fighting him off, have him being in the voice of the mother.
Well, I mean, they kind of do at the very, very end when...
In voiceover.
Yeah, when the camera like zooms in on him and the voiceover. And I kind of like that. I thought that was pretty cool. They could have just ended it, like they could have just like cut out the whole psychologist part and like ended it with like him in handcuffs, like with that voiceover.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Like cut to that scene.
That is better than what I thought.
Look at me go.
Yeah, look at you. You think you're better than Hitchcock, huh?
I don't know. You just said that was
it's better.
That was a better idea than what you just had.
Yeah, no, I am not full of myself to think that I have the best ideas. No, that's actually not bad. Have that ending scene be him and handcuffs.
Because I liked that ending scene. I thought that was really.
I just think the psychologist scene was rather pointless.
I mean, I don't think it needed to be in there, but again, I really do think maybe because of the time.
Possibly. No, that might be likely why it's there. Because I think at that time...
not, like, back in the day, like, they didn't even understand, like, what, like, mental health was. Like, didn't even understand, like, schizophrenia or, you know, bipolar or split personalities. Like, nothing like that. So maybe that's why they put it in there, because they had to explain it.
Right. That is likely the possibility. I just think it's a tone setting. It just kind of went from...
Yeah, like, for the movie. Yeah.
Oh, that twist to... Okay, what now?
Here's like a doofy guy in the middle of the police station, like giving like a college lesson on psychology.
Yeah.
Like, that's boring. Yeah. Really liked that ending part where they zoom on him and then he looks like wicked creepy.
It's an iconic shot.
Yeah. I'm like, wow. Like, there he is. There's the real Norman. Even like the stupid like end part where they're like pulling out the car and it just is like the end. I was like, it's kind of cool. It's different.
Because you would assume they would pull that thing out.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume.
I know. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it's in the swamp. What can we do? I'm like, well.
Yeah, the tiny swamp sucked up all the cars. I don't know where they went under there, but they're there.
Yeah. Final thoughts on the 1960s version of Psycho, the best version, honestly. I mean, God.
The only version.
If only that were the case.
In our eyes, the only version.
Yeah, God. I can't believe I saw the remake first in theaters. Anyway. God, what hasn't been said about this film? I think this is one of the best horror films ever made, even though I kind of don't think it's really good as a horror film.
It's not that scary.
No, it is definitely a crime thriller. And I think with that, there's a reason why this film is so important and why it is so beloved. I very much like this film. Even after watching this now a third time, I still am entranced by what happens in the film, how well everything is done in the film. I especially like the performance of Anthony Perkins and the direction that Alfred Hitchcock did in this movie. I definitely understand why so many people look at this as a blueprint of how to make this type of film very well. I'm not giving it a perfect score mainly because I do not like the psychologist scene. And I know that's kind of nitpicky, but honestly, it does kill what I think is
the mood.
It really doesn't do well with the tone of the film. So I'm giving it 4.5 stars out of 5. I think it's a really good film. Again, it's not even my top 3 when it comes to Hitchcock.
You took my rating, you boob.
Your rating? I mean, whatever. I'm not even gonna justify.
You were so quiet. I'm like, hello? Are you still?
I'm crying on the inside. I never knew someone who said they cared about me so much would call me a boob. Call me an asshat at
every time, like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do a 4.5, and you're like, I give this 4.5. I'm like, okay.
What are you like? You're like, son of a bitch.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm like, I don't want him to think I'm like copying him because
I don't think you're copying me. I just think you're realizing how good of an opinion I've had all along.
God,
that's what this is. It's your sudden realization after all these years of knowing me.
No, I'm just kidding.
See, that I would expect from you.
No.
Okay, so yeah, 4.5 stars out of 5 for me. It is a classic for a reason. It is considered some of the best movies for a reason. It is an amazing film. 4.5 stars out of 5 for me for Psycho.
Nice. Okay. 4.5 stars for me as well. And no, I'm not copying The Wiz. I think this really was my first black and white movie. I think. Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. But it felt like it was because maybe it was that well done. I really enjoyed the black and white. I really enjoyed Norman's performance. What's his name? Anthony Perkins.
Right.
Thank you. I really enjoyed his performance. Like I said, the way he pulls it off, really, it got me at the end. The twist got me, and they never usually do. And this seemed like a movie where I would have been able to catch that, and I didn't. And I really shocked myself, too. For me to watch a film and really not know what the ending was going to be like within a thriller is like, I don't know. That's just like an amazing rating to me in itself because it's hard to stump me. I thought the performances were really well, and I don't think it was a scary movie whatsoever. I also liked some of the music in it too. The music really played well with the tone of the film. 4.5 for me. It was just really well done.
So, I think the main question I want to ask you before we finalize this.
Oh, God.
Are you now... No, just...
Okay.
Are you up to watching more black and white movies?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. So there are some that I know that you will enjoy. I know you're a romantic comedy girl. I know you also like comedies. There's some good dramas. There are some comedies that are so good that are in black and white because you've been such a snob about seeing black and white movies. Now that I've broken this, there are some really good ones. Oh man, I'm thinking about it right now. Like Some Like It Hot. My God, My Man Godfrey. Oh man, there's a lot. There's some good ones.
Some Like It Hot. Why do I feel like
Marilyn Monroe?
Oh yeah, I feel like my stepmom saw that movie and was telling me about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so now that I know that you are up for watching some black and white movies, oh boy, we just upped that ante. Oh boy.
Nice.
Can't wait. So 4.5 out of 5 stars for both me and Kim on Psycho. Yeah, God, masterpiece for a reason. Right?
Yeah, I'm so excited that I finally saw it.
All right. So 4.5 out of 5 for me and Kim on Psycho.
Go see it, especially with the October, Halloween holiday coming up.
So who are the 5 of you who haven't seen it? Check it out.
Shut up.
No, I'm not trying to be shitty to you on that one, but there are.
I know, there's so many people have seen it.
I know, but the other thing as well is there's people who haven't seen it but know what happens. So
right.
There's that thing too. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, see it. You should.